Right now, Anthony Weiner declares he's running for mayor. He might be ready to run, but is New York ready to forgive and forget? And next, the people of Moore, Oklahoma have just begun putting their lives back together, but already one of their senators is saying that disaster aid from the tornado should be offset by spending cuts, something we heard after Sandy. Is that fair? And later, major movement on immigration reform, landmark legislation coming out of a Senate committee last night, but there is still a long, long way to go. Will immigration reform remain just a dream? Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in again tonight for Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us on this Wednesday evening, May the 22nd. Well, surprise, former Congressman Anthony Weiner, who we all thought was running for mayor and who we all said was going to run for mayor, is, wait for it, he's running for mayor. He made it official, releasing a very well-produced 2+ minute video this morning. Here are the parts you need to see.
Jordan. Every day starts right here.
Honey, I gotta go.
All right, goodbye. And it's the best part of my day.
All right.
Now we gotta put this. And then you step outside, and New York's like no other place. Some of the highest rents in the country. Went up 20% the last 2 years alone. And you want to buy? It'll cost you $1 million. Good jobs with benefits? Disappearing. Our schools aren't what they should be, and we need to keep this city safe. And if you're trying to run a business on a neighborhood shopping strip like this one, you're drowning in regulations that nickel and dime you to death. The very people that put everything they had into this city are getting priced right out of it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Look, I made some big mistakes, and I know I let a lot of people down. But I've also learned some tough lessons. I'm running for mayor because I've been fighting for the middle class and those struggling to make it my entire life. And I hope I get a second chance to work for you.
We love this city, and no one will work harder to make it better than Anthony.
I will fight for you every single day. Thank you for watching.
And if you trust the numbers, Weiner cannot be overlooked in this race. He starts the campaign in second place, 10 points behind Christine Quinn in today's new Q poll. I want to bring in tonight's panel on this. We begin with Scott Levinson, president of the Advance Group, and Natty Dresser. Thanks for getting the jacket and tie memo. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, never intentionally. And Brandon Bryce, Republican strategist and columnist for the Washington Times community section. First up, we got to take Weiner seriously, right? He is somebody to contend with, at least in the Democratic primary.
Well, I guess I'll go first. There's no doubt about it. You ignore him at your own peril. You may be looking at the next mayor of New York City. And what's my credentials to say this? Well, one, I was one of the few journalists that predicted a political novice, Mike Bloomberg, that nobody had heard of, that he was the next mayor of New York. Folks were looking at me like, what was I smoking? I set it up at Columbia University before graduate students. I'm telling you, because of his personality, because of his populist message of protecting the middle class, this guy is a serious contender and might be the next mayor of New York.
I mean, the fact is this race is fluid and it's changing beneath our feet as we watch. And Christine Quinn is just dropping like 12 points in a couple of weeks in almost a free fall. And Bill de Blasio picked up a huge labor endorsement this week at $11.99. Anthony Weiner cannot be discounted, as Dominic said. He's a pugnacious, intense guy who's going to change the dynamics of this race. So
I'm just curious if his campaign can handle too much, too much upset as it goes through. I mean, he's balanced a little carefully, and I want to play for you a clip that he gave in the interview with Dominic when Dominic asked him if there might be other women that come forward about having gotten pictures when he was tweeting them out a couple of years ago.
If reporters want to go try to find more, I can't say that they're not going to be able to find another picture or find another, another person who may want to come out on their own, but I'm not going to contribute to that.
I'm sorry, Andrew. I actually think that's one of the huge mistakes made in this rollout. When Geraldine Ferraro 25 years ago had problems or suggested problems, she spent 20 hours in front of the press, didn't leave until all the questions were answered. For him to leave this question open on how many more pictures, how many more women, is an invitation for every blogger in this country to find number 7
But I thought it was
and number
smart,
8.
Scott. I know you're going to get you in.
I actually agree with you. I actually think it is smart. But I think at the end of the day, I think people have short memories, and I think what's to his benefit. I think this is a man who already is second in the race. I know there was a poll that 49% of New Yorkers actually don't think he should run.
We're going to get to that in a second.
But I think looking at it, this is a man who was a very popular congressman before, and even if you have issues with it, I think his biggest challenge has got to be keeping Christine Quinn down and making sure that the union vote doesn't overturn him.
But Dominic, what happens if another photo does come out from
That's
another
why.
woman?
That's why it was genius what he said to me in that interview, because he was being proactive. Now Scott is the man. Scott.
He'd been proactive on Twitter.
Well, Scott is somebody, and I've been joking with him, calling him the new David Garth, but I believe that's how smart he is. David Garth, of course, got 3 mayors elected of New York City, and looking at what's his name's commercial, Weiner's commercial today, it reminded me of David Garth's work, the way Garth used Donna Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani's wife, in the commercial with Rudy to bring down his high negatives. That's exactly what was done with Weiner's wife.
That's why Fuma was in the ad. Right?
That's why she's in the ad. But I normally always defer to Scott because he's very good at what he does. But I think that this commercial, that in terms of Weiner being proactive, answering the question in the interview we had with him, Andrew, it covers him. Because some other woman could pop up.
Let me just make my point and tell you why I disagree. If we were talking years ago where we didn't have a blog, internet culture, when ABC, NBC, CBS was the only place you had to go, they're absolutely right. The story gets played out. But when everybody's looking for new content, everybody's looking to make a byline that day, there's so much competition across the board. That 7th picture gets picked up. That 8th picture gets picked up. And it's again a reminder of the visuals.
And not to mention, I think Weiner's biggest challenge is how can he suppress any photos from coming up, and even the female women vote of New York. That has to be a factor to say, listen, can people bring that trust back into Weiner? You know, many of the criticism said that he lied to to every New Yorkers when those photos came out. And so is he able through this commercial to actually say, I am a changed man and I deserve a second chance? And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for Weiner.
You had referenced earlier some of the internal numbers in today's Q poll on Anthony Weiner. Today, in terms of whether he should run or not, 49% of people in the poll said that they did not think he should run. If that's not disheartening or disturbing enough for the Weiner campaign, show the trend on this going back to April, if you can, because the yeses are getting smaller, and well, actually, that's the whole field, and we'll get back to that in a second. But the yeses for Weiner to run are getting smaller, and the no's are getting larger. That's not a good trend in the last month for him.
No, the fact is a lot of people will suggest the 15 points he's at today is as high as he's going to get. They suggest that with his negatives being where they are, with these numbers reflect, that there's a limited amount of growth. Anthony Weiner's campaign has got to be looking to making the runoff right now. With Christine Quinn in free fall, you can't count him out.
And see, I argue just the opposite. Again, Scott is the expert, but there's not a limited amount of growth. When New Yorkers, I moderated the debate with Weiner in 2005, and when New Yorkers get a hold of his personality, he's very likable, his message connects. Once he connects, there will be no more limit in terms of how much he can grow.
But everything that we've seen from him in the last 6 weeks since he's started this PR campaign, and in the interview with you and with others as well, Dominic, we haven't seen the Anthony Weiner that we came to know and love in the House.
There's a time. Exactly. Step one is the apology tour.
But how does he get back to that Weiner who can just throw down at any point?
As soon as he's done with the apology tour, which is what he's doing now. Good morning, Mr. Weiner. I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Mr. Weiner. I'm sorry. And then as soon as he's done with that, we'll see the real Anthony Weiner.
Good evening, Mr. Weiner. Why are you saying good evening to me?
I think that you're actually going to see the real Anthony Weiner that we saw in Washington maybe in the summertime. I actually agree with Dominic that New Yorkers have to feel comfortable with electing him as their as the chief of the city again. And I think once he's able to do that, I think it's going to be very difficult for a lot of the Democratic candidates to actually beat that. Now, as for the Republican candidates, I think that you've really got to look at, out of the candidates, who can actually match up against Weiner.
Couple of other things related to the race that I want to get through as quickly as we possibly can. But first, I want to show the numbers overall for the from the Q poll today. The one that has Christine Quinn at 25%. Weiner comes in second at 15%. On the left are the numbers from today. On the right are the numbers from the same poll a month ago. Christine Quinn's down 3 points. And Scott, we've been hearing about free fall, and you're quoting internal numbers and other things like that. It doesn't look like she's in free fall. She lost 3 points in a month.
If you look at polls a month before that, she was at 37. That's as free fall as you get.
So there's a trend. It's it's not like the bottom has fallen out.
Well, 37 to 25, net 12 points in a short amount of time.
She's in a free fall.
You know, we can
She's
call,
definitely
you
in a
can
free
call
fall.
it, you will, and yes, I do
There,
have.
there was some saying that there was going to be no runoff, that she would get 40% of the vote. The polling is showing just the opposite now.
Christine Quinn has to get out of the shadows of Mayor Bloomberg, and I think if I'm Weiner, I think that's kind of my strategy, is to keep beating that message up until September.
And he has done exactly that.
Throw those numbers back up on the screen again from today's poll versus the April poll, because I want to focus in on the guy in fourth place, Bill Thompson. He was 10% a month ago. He's at 10% today. Dominic, you've been saying the sky's the limit on Bill Thompson and everything's coming his way.
And I stand by that. Sky's the limit for him. That with Thompson, this race, Weiner's an X factor. But excluding him for 1 second, Thompson may sew up this nomination before you know it. This guy is on fire with his quiet style.
It's the behind-the-scenes stuff.
It's the behind-the-scenes stuff. Because right now, the only ones that are paying attention are us. The public is not paying attention to this race. Right. He's raising the money. He's getting law enforcement endorsements. He's getting all types of endorsements. He's doing quite well.
So this is why it's fluid, and Dominic's absolutely right on this. There's this X factor around Weiner. You can't deny that he changes the dynamics of the field. He's a new voice. A guy like Billy Thompson's got a defined demographic base, and he continues to overperform on every filing period. Bill de Blasio picks up a big labor union this week, seems to be trending in a certain direction.
And not to mention, he's the only African American actually in the race. And I think simply looking at the racial vote, I think that could actually get him over in September.
Right. Thompson's if there is a runoff, Thompson's guaranteed for one of those spots simply because of his base. So then the question is, who's the other person in the runoff, if there's a runoff?
Last question, and we're pressed for time on this, but when Weiner made the announcement this morning, which of the established candidates, which of the candidates in the race took it the worst? Who's got the biggest trouble now with Weiner in the race?
De Blasio.
Christine Quinn.
I think de Blasio.
Quinn de Blasio?
I think it's de Blasio. I think that was the last thing someone like a de Blasio may have wanted to hear.
Quinn and Weiner have exactly the same base. It's bad news for her.
I'm going to say it's John Liu because we haven't mentioned his name once yet, and that can't be a good sign for anybody who's running for mayor. All right, we're going to take a break here on RFL. Up next, we're going to bring you back to tornado-torn Oklahoma. The search for survivors winding down now as new political questions begin to arise, like how exactly should aid for the victims be paid for? Representative Peter King from Long Island calling out fellow lawmakers for hypocrisy because they opposed aid for Sandy victims, but now they're A-OK with it for the tornado victims in Oklahoma. We're going to get into that next. Stay with us.